It's no longer news that there are newly imposed tariffs in the US, and it's a major issue for big businesses and global trade. These changes are likely to affect the average American's wallet more than you might expect. Oh yeah, from gadgets to groceries. But the burning question is, how bad could it get this year, and is there a way to dodge these ripple effects? Well, let's find out. Tariffs might seem like something only politicians and economists worry about, but here's the kicker. A 10% tariff can cause prices on affected goods to rise by as much as 8%. Why? Well, because companies don't like losing money, so instead of taking the fall themselves, they simply pass the expense on to you, the consumer. The 2019 Federal Reserve Bank of New York study found that US businesses and shoppers ended up paying the full price for tariffs on Chinese imports, despite claims that foreign companies would bear the cost. Lately, tariffs have been causing all kinds of confusion, especially in the early months of President Trump's second term. He's gone back and forth on imposing 25% tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico, first announcing them, then delaying or reducing them. But when it comes to China, he's been far less lenient. In February, he hit them with a 10% tariff, only to double it the following month. And now there's talk of even steeper tariffs on imports worldwide as early as April. The result, a shaky stock market and a whole lot of uncertainty about what's actually in effect. So how do tariffs even work? Well, think of it like this. In a perfect world, every country focuses on making what it does best, sells the extra to other countries, and then uses the profits to buy what it doesn't produce efficiently. That's basic trade economics. Tariffs, however, act like a tax, but instead of targeting a specific product like alcohol or gas, they hit imports from particular countries or across the board. Now, what do tariffs actually do? Well, for one, they generate revenue for the government, but not much compared to income taxes. Even with tariffs imposed by both Trump and Biden, the US still made about 30 times more money from individual income taxes than from tariffs last year. Their real aim, it's to encourage domestic production. By making foreign goods more expensive, tariffs allow American companies to increase prices without worrying too much about losing customers. But here's the twist. Even products not directly hit with a tariff can see price increases. Take what happened after President Obama placed a 3-year tariff on Chinese tires in 2009. Not only did Chinese tire prices go up, but so did the price of US-made tires and those imported from other countries. While tariffs might seem like a broader issue, they can have a direct impact on your wallet, making everyday items more expensive and affecting the economy in unpredictable ways. Tariffs create what's known as deadweight loss, meaning consumers end up losing more money than what producers actually gain. At the end of the day, it is the everyday shopper who gets hit hardest by tariffs. Why? Well, because whether you buy American-made goods at their naturally higher price or opt for imported products that have been slapped with extra fees, you're still paying more either way. The ripple effects don't stop there, though. Analysts predict that slapping a 10% tariff on all imports plus a 60% tariff on Chinese goods could cut off nearly $600 billion from the US economy over 4 years. That's a serious hit, with most of the damage happening up front. And then there's the issue of retaliation. When one country raises tariffs, others often fire back, triggering a trade war that can spiral out of control. Just look at the ongoing US-China standoff that's been simmering since 2018. Retaliatory tariffs don't just rise prices at home, they also reduce export opportunities for American businesses. Let's not forget how tariffs impact jobs and wages. A deep look into decades of tariff policies across 151 countries found that they tend to cause slight increases in unemployment and income inequality. That's especially concerning for lower-income households who already struggle with rising costs. On April 2, 2025, President Donald Trump made a big move by revealing his sweeping trade agenda, setting tariffs on a wide range of US trade partners. The plan includes a 10% tariff on imports from most countries except for Mexico and Canada, which will take effect on April 5th. But it doesn't just stop there. Countries like China, India, and the European Union are facing even higher tariffs, ranging from 20 to 34%, with the new taxes kicking in on April 9th. These tariffs are being applied to what the administration calls unfair trade practices and to boost domestic American production. But with these tariffs comes consequences, and the big question is, what goods exactly are going up in prices? Well, consumers can expect to see price hikes on several everyday items. For starters, auto insurance could go up by 8% by 2025, and this is simply due to tariffs on car parts imported from Mexico and Canada, which could increase the cost of car repairs and parts, thus raising your premiums. If you're thinking of getting a new car, automobiles could cost you more too. The 25% tariff on cars and auto parts from those same countries could raise prices by as much as £12,000. And repairs might also get pricier with the increase in steel and aluminium tariffs. Even avocados are also likely to get more expensive, as 90% of avocados come from Mexico, and a 25% tariff could drive up prices significantly. Gasoline prices, they might go up too, especially in northern states, because most of the US crude oil comes from Canada, and tariffs on Canadian oil could reverse the current downward trend in prices. Maple syrup lovers might also find themselves paying more for their pancakes, as tariffs on Canadian imports could drive up costs. And if you're in the market for a new home, lumber prices could rise even further, with higher tariffs on Canadian wood pushing up the cost of building a house by an estimated $9,200. And don't forget about those new shoes. With China providing nearly 40% of the US's footwear imports, we might be paying overall anywhere from $6.4 billion to $10.7 billion more for new kicks this year, thanks to the tariffs on Chinese imports. But it's not just your everyday goods that are going to feel the impact of President Trump's tariffs, but also those gadgets and luxuries we all love. If you're planning to buy a smartphone, get ready for a price hike. Since most of the components are made in China, the 20% tariff on Chinese imports could add around $305 to the average price, which could raise your next phone by as much as 37%. But it's not just smartphones. Other electronics like laptops, tablets, video game consoles, and televisions might cost more too. And for those who enjoy a glass of wine or spirits, there could also be some serious price changes on the horizon. President Trump recently threatened to impose a massive 200% tariff on European wine, champagne, and spirits if the EU goes forward with a 50% tax on US whiskey. And history suggests that when tariffs were imposed on wine from France, Spain, Germany, and the UK, both producers and consumers felt the price increase, and this proposed new tariff could have an even bigger impact. If it passes, the global wine trade could be severely affected, from importers to restaurants to bars. In a nutshell, thanks to the tariffs, expect your favorite gadgets, toys, and even drinks to cost more. So whether you're upgrading your smartphone or stocking up on wine for a party, it looks like those price tags are about to get pricier. And apart from price hikes, the widespread implementation of tariffs by the US has sparked growing concerns among economists and market analysts, who predict significant consequences for both the domestic and global economies. When it comes to economic growth, analysts have revised their expectations for the US GDP in 2025, initially projected to grow between 1 and 1.5%. The new forecast is in a much lower range of 0 to 0.5%. And this downturn is largely due to the tariffs that are likely to disrupt international trade and domestic economic activity. As a result, the US is also facing an increased risk of entering a recession by 2026 if current trade policies continue to dominate. But that's not all. Inflationary pressures are also expected to increase. As tariffs on imports increase, the cost of everyday goods is likely to go up too. This inflation could significantly affect consumers, pushing up prices across a wide range of products, from groceries to electronics. And with both lower economic growth and higher inflation, there's a real concern that the US economy could face a bumpy road ahead. For American households, the effect will be felt particularly by those in the lower and middle income brackets. Families may see their annual costs rise by $3,800 due to higher prices on everyday goods like clothing, fresh produce, and vehicles. And families with incomes between $30,000 and $60,000 could face an even harder hit, potentially seeing a 4% reduction in income because of the rising costs. On a global scale, the World Bank has warned that the US tariffs could slow global economic growth by about 0.3 percentage points in 2025. If other countries retaliate with their own tariffs, the economic fallout could get worse. The automotive industry, the tariffs on vehicles and parts are expected to severely affect North American supply chains, potentially causing a 15 to 20% decline in cross-border automotive trade. This disruption could also lead to an 8 to 12% increase in consumer vehicle prices, making it more expensive for Americans to buy new cars or repair their current ones. On a brighter note, those sectors like information and communication technology services and apparel have shown resilience despite the broader trade challenges. Both industries recorded impressive growth rates of 13 to 14% in late 2024, and they're likely to continue performing well throughout 2025, offering some hope amid the otherwise turbulent economic landscape. So, what's the bottom line? Well, the new tariffs are having some serious effects, and while some industries like tech and fashion are staying strong, others, especially the car market, are feeling the pinch with rising costs and supply chain headaches. For everyday Americans, things are about to get a bit more expensive, from groceries to gas to gadgets. Let's not forget the bigger picture. This whole tariff saga is fueling a global game of economic tag, with other countries likely to retaliate, adding more fuel to the fire. This year, it looks like higher prices, slower growth, and some serious trade drama are here to stay for a while. So keep your wallets close. Things could get bumpy. What do you think about the recently imposed tariffs, and how have they affected your private life? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to check out our other videos for more insights on related topics.